Okay, so today we're going to be finding out which racket is better, the RF01 Pro or the RF97. Okay, so let's just go through the specs. So the RF1 is 320 grams, unstrung, with a 1619 string pattern and a 98 square inch head. The RF97 is 340 grams unstrung, 1619 string pattern and a 97 square inch head. So it's just 20 grams in difference between the RF97 and the RF1. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the RF1 Pro. So for me, this racket feels very different to the Pro Staff. In fact, any of the Pro Staffs. I was able to generate a lot more power and spin with this frame, even to the point where sometimes it was quite hard to control. But the thing I had to remember was this wasn't a Pro Staff. It's a completely new model of racket, developed more for the modern game. So to test this racket out properly, I had it strung to my exact specs, which is 57 pounds with head links taut. I'd advise using this racket strung a little bit tighter than you normally would, just as it is pretty powerful. What I did enjoy about this racket was the slightly lighter weight. I did a video on the RF01 Pro a little while back, and I found it really easy just to stay on the baseline and maneuver around hitting half volleys just using my hands. Just because of the balance, it is quite head light, so it's really easy to maneuver around the baseline quite quickly, which does actually suit the way I play because I like to stand in and take time away. So when I was testing this racket before, I was on an outdoor hard court that was still pretty quick. I've never tested this on anything slow, but I can imagine that it would be pretty good on something like a clay court. So I enjoyed volleying with this racket far more than I thought I would. I felt because of the power that I was generating from the baseline that it would be quite difficult to control the net, but it's actually quite a stable frame and the volleys felt really crisp on contact. And because it was slightly more powerful, it felt like I had to put less effort into the volleys. And because of the balance and the weight, it meant that I could maneuver it around quicker. So reacting to volleys was easier. So the RF1 surpassed my expectations at the net. I think it's always worth mentioning what a racket is like to smash with. It's not something a lot of people speak about. I know that generating power on overheads can be quite difficult sometimes, but there's so much pop on the RF1 that putting the ball away is pretty easy. I know that the ground strokes are the fun part, but probably the most important thing that you can gauge how good a racket is by the serve. And I felt like this delivered quite a lot of power, a lot of pop, really easy on my shoulder and on my elbow, but I was just struggling to hit my spots as well as I normally would with the RF97. I felt like I definitely wasn't as consistent. Okay, so that is the RF1 done. My honest thoughts on this racket are, it's a little bit of a spin monster, pretty powerful. Reminds me of something from Babolat, along those lines. It's very different from the ProStaff RF, which I've been using for the past few years now. That's a little bit of a stiffer feeling. This is definitely more reactive. It's definitely more powerful. So yeah, looking forward to playing a little bit more with this. I've been trying it out for the last few months since it's been out. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna give it another go at some point, but now it's time for the RF. Okay, so the ProStaff RF97. So this is my current racket of choice. Always been a big fan of the ProStaff range and probably used this since I was about 17 or 18. So yeah, let's give this a go and see how it compares to the RF1. Okay, my style consultant has just arrived. Ella, what are your thoughts? Which one looks better?
This one.
Ooh, the RF97 looks better. Why does it look better?
I don't know, I don't like the gradient of the grey and the black.
Interesting. Why?
Huh?
Why?
Well, if I'm wearing an all black outfit,
Okay.
an all black racket will look sleeker.
Okay.
There you go.
Style guru advice.
I'd prefer that to be shiny as well.
There you go. The RF97, the better looking racket out of the two. You'd prefer it to be shiny?
Yeah.
Actually, they do look sick when they are glossy. So bear that in mind, Wilson. So straight away, compared to the RF1, the trajectory of the ball is just different. It's flatter and straighter to the target, and the contact just feels so solid. So what was the feedback like from my hitting partner? He said that with the RF01 Pro, the ball was kicking up at him a little bit more, there was a bit more spin, but he said with the RF97 that the ball was coming through so heavy. Now that's probably the extra 20 grams in weight, and I also feel like this racket has a more dense frame. It feels more high quality, everything about it from the paint to the shape of the grip. It just feels like when you get it right with this racket, it's so good. And the noise. It's like what you'd imagine the hammer of the gods hitting a tennis ball sounds like. Honestly, I feel like this racket is harder to use at the net than the RF01 Pro. It's heavier, it's harder to move around. Don't get me wrong, when you get it right, it's a dream. But if it's slightly wrong, say goodbye to your arm. Maybe I'm just not that good at the net, I don't know. But I feel like the major strengths of this racket are just such heavy ground strokes and laser-like precision. The ball doesn't really deviate from its target, and to smash with, it's so crisp. But again, if you're slightly off, you know about it. And I think that's one of the benefits of the RF1. It's definitely more user-friendly. And the RF1 definitely makes shots where you haven't got your full body behind the ball a lot easier to hit. For me, this racket is a dream to serve with. It's just got a perfect blend of power and precision. My flat T serve on the juice side feels like a weapon with this thing. The ball just goes so straight, and it's pretty accurate on the out-wide serves as well. But above all else, I think the thing that gives this racket the most weight is the belief behind it. I know that this racket has such a fan base, and don't get me wrong, I'm included as well, just because of watching what Federer did with it. Reinvented his game, the game, and produced some magic. And I think apart from being such a great racket, the belief about this racket is so strong. And I think that's another reason why it's so good. Probably the aura around it. So after testing these rackets out, obviously this is my chosen racket and I've been playing with this one for about 2 months now, on and off. It's time to give my honest review, and we'll start with the RF1. So this racket it's more maneuverable, it's definitely more powerful, a lot more spinny, but I find the ball a little bit harder to control with this. I feel like the frame doesn't feel as solid, whereas the RF97, I feel like there's a real dense feeling to the frame, like there's a good plow through on the ball. It doesn't feel too hard to control the ball with this. You don't get as much spin, but I feel like there's benefits in other areas where you can really hit the ball heavy, and for serving especially, this is just an absolute beast. I feel like it helps you hit your spots, but it's not too low on power. So, which out of the two do I prefer more? Tough decision, but I'm gonna have to go with the RF97. I've always had a bit of a sweet spot for this racket. It's been my favorite for probably the past 7 years. Even when I was using Technofiber, I still wanted to go back to this frame. And I think it's an incredibly hard racket for Wilson to beat. And I know it's not for everyone. The RF1 definitely has a place. It's definitely more of a consumer-friendly racket, but as a pro player, I feel like this suits my game so much more. And I feel like it's just such a shame that they haven't brought it back out, or to my knowledge, they're not gonna bring it out. I don't know, hopefully Wilson do. But yeah, I know many people that agree with me, and yeah, I'm a real big fan. So hope you enjoyed the video, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.